You ever buy a place thinking it's your own slice of heaven and then wake up one morning to realize you've stepped into a war zone? Because let me tell you, I thought I was done with conflict. I'd spent half my life as a crime scene investigator, wading through humanity's worst. And all I wanted was some quiet, just me, 12 acres of Virginia pines, and the kind of peace you can only find where your nearest neighbor is basically a rumor. But man, I should have known peace is a tricky thing. It's quiet, sure, but sometimes that quiet is just the universe holding its breath before the punchline. I bought this old house at the tail end of autumn, right when the leaves turned that deep copper and everything smelled like rain on wood smoke. House was built in the 50s, brick and stone solid as a stubborn old mule standing on a little hill where the driveway, silver and winding, ended at this battered gate. First thing I did, replaced it with a steel one. Call it instinct. Across the valley, all shiny and perfect, was the Silver Bluffs subdivision. Those luxury homes that all look like they came off the same assembly line, with lawns so green and fake-looking you half expect to bounce a tennis ball off them. My place wasn't like that. It was older, wilder, had real character. Or maybe, if I'm honest, I just liked being the odd man out. I left my old life behind like slamming a door. Too many years watching evidence bags pile up, too many nights staring at bloodstains and broken people. I thought if I came out here, I could breathe again. Mornings, I'd listen to wind in the trees, and evenings, I'd sit on the porch with a mug of coffee, watching the last sunlight turn those fancy Silver Bluffs rooftops into gold. Yeah, I thought I was home. Funny how fast you can go from home to hostile territory. First sign, little HOA brochure tucked under my new gate. Glossy thing, real professional. Welcome to Silver Bluffs community. Inside a list of rules long enough to choke a goat mailbox. Colors what kind of gnomes you could put in your yard, even how tall your trash bin could be. My personal favorite holiday lights had to be white max length 30 feet, and God help you if you felt festive. I laughed, tossed it straight in the recycling. My place wasn't in Silver Bluffs, I figured, so who cares? A couple days later, I'm tightening the porch railing when she shows up. You ever meet somebody and instantly know they've never lost a fight because they've never even acknowledged someone else had a right to stand their ground? That was Karen Lomax. Blonde bob yoga pants, sunglasses the size of her ego, walking up like she owned the moon. Didn't even say hi, just leaned a manicured hand on my gate and said, "You must be the new resident. I'm Karen Lomax, president of the Silver Bluffs HOA. I gave her a look. This isn't Silver Bluffs. I think you got the wrong house. She smiled wider, but her eyes got cold. Oh, historically, it's always been part of Silver Bluffs. We've discussed it at meetings. I'd love to see your property reinstated in the HOA registry. It's better for everyone. Not happening, I told her, flat as a deadline. Checked every record. Never been HOA. Got the title to prove it. Karen just shrugged. Sometimes records get messy. We can fix that for you. That's when I realized she wasn't just nosy. She was the kind of person who sees boundaries as suggestions. She left with a smile that promised trouble, and her SUV disappeared down the road with the same drama as a closing curtain. After that, it got quiet, but not the peaceful kind. More like the air before a thunderstorm. I kept busy repainting steps, trimming hedges, setting up new security lights. Still, I caught myself looking over my shoulder, feeling that prickling on the back of my neck. Not a deer, not a fox. Someone watching. Odd little things started happening. I went to the post office, and the clerk, an old guy, looked at me sideways when I gave him my address. You're on the Lomax property, right? I just blinked. Nope. That's mine, Drake, not Lomax. He half smiled like it was a joke I'd missed. Then I ran into Joe, a neighbor from Silver Bluffs, a decent guy doctor at the clinic. He leaned in like he was telling me state secrets. Karen's saying you're just renting that place, that you're some kind of caretaker until her legal stuff goes through. I laughed. She's got a hell of an imagination. That's my house. I bought it fair and square. When I got home, mailbox stuffed with HOA junk addressed to Karen Lomax, property owner. Real subtle, right? I snapped a photo for the record, dumped the pile in a drawer, and started double-checking my paperwork. Everything was solid. But I knew people like Karen Truth wasn't going to stop her. She was playing a different game. Next morning, I called the county office, asked them to flag any changes on my property. Clerk hesitated when I mentioned Karen's name. Funny you ask, she said. There's a recent request to update the ownership record filed by Northridge Land Survey applicant Karen Lomax. I nearly cracked my phone in half. Don't process a thing. That's fraud. She promised to hold it. That's when I knew this wasn't some misunderstanding. This was a land grab. A couple days later, I catch Karen's SUV parked just out of sight, angled at my gate. She didn't wave. Neither did I. We just stared. It was like some Wild West showdown. Tuesday. I come home and find two guys in green uniforms mowing my front yard like they're doing me a favor. Silver Bluff's HOA truck blocking my drive. "Hey, who told you to come here?" I shout. "Mrs. Lomax said to tidy up the property to HOA standards," the older guy says. I almost laughed. "She doesn't own this land. Pack it up and leave or I'm calling the cops." They didn't argue. As they drove off, I noticed big new signs nailed to my posts. Private property, Silver Bluffs, HOA members only. I ripped them down, took more photos for evidence, and by that night I doubled my security cameras and installed a floodlight bright enough to make a raccoon confess to anything. Next morning, a letter slipped under my gate. No postage, just arrogance. Printed on Silver Bluff's HOA letterhead accusing me of violating community standards. Said fines would start if I didn't rectify infractions in 30 days. I nearly spit my coffee laughing. Fines for a neighborhood I wasn't in. I called Karen. "Your landscaper's trespassed. Your signs are on my land. You don't back off, I'll get law enforcement involved." She paused, voice all honey and venom. "Eric, this doesn't need to be hostile. We're just trying to bring your property up to community standards." I actually laughed. "Karen, I don't belong to your community. Not legally, not socially, not ever. The only standard here is my patience, and you're running out of it." I hung up. After that, I started documenting everything, photos, videos, calls, all of it, because you can't reason with people who treat reality like it's their personal sandbox. That's when things really kicked off. One morning, there's a sharp knock. 2 county deputies at my door cruiser idling in the drive. "Mr. Drake, we got a call about a potentially dangerous individual residing here without permission." I looked them in the eye. Let me guess, Karen Lomax made the call. They didn't answer. I invited them in, laid out my deed title, county records. I own this place outright, not a renter, not a squatter. And the only thing dangerous about me is how much patience I've got left. They checked the papers, took my security footage of Karen's trespassers, and said they'd add it to the report. "This won't be the last call we get," I warned. Later, I went to the county office myself. The clerk showed me the latest fraud, Karen filing to make herself primary owner and me property manager. I told her to flag every doc from Karen and copy me on everything. "You're not the first with trouble from that HOA," she muttered. "They think they run the whole county." Next, I found a handwritten threat in my mailbox. "You're not welcome here. This belongs to Silver Bluffs. Leave while you still can. Real neighborly." A couple days later, another deputy comes out. Someone claimed I was threatening neighbors with a gun. I showed him footage of me with cleaning tools in the shed and sipping coffee on the porch. He rolled his eyes, but you could see the exhaustion. I'd had enough. I called my attorney, Linda Cross, real bulldog, sharp as barbed wire. I laid out everything, trespassers, fake documents, bogus police calls. She told me document everything. "Keep calm, build your case. People like Karen crumble under evidence. I'll serve a cease and desist myself." Next morning, I watched a courier hand Karen the letter over her white picket fence. She read it, crumpled it, tossed it in her trash. That's when I knew Karen didn't care about law. She cared about winning. I dug in. Turns out Karen had a history of failed lawsuits over land harassing neighbors for minor violations. Cooked up stories about mailboxes and Christmas lights. I put it all together, handed it to Linda. She grinned. Pattern of behavior, perfect. One night, my cameras caught someone else taller, hoodie spray can painting, "Get out, fraud," on my fence. Deputy recognized the handwriting, Karen's husband. We've had calls before. This was no longer just Karen, this was a circus. We went to court. Karen shows up in white lawyer in tow, all smiles. Her case: that she was a victim of clerical error. Linda shredded it, presented the chain of fraudulent filings, the IP addresses traced right back to Karen's house. Judge denied every one of her motions, ordered an investigation into her fake documents. For the first time, Karen's mask slipped, panic, not smugness. Silver Bluffs HOA started to turn on her. Todd, the board member, admitted most of them were fed up. Nobody wanted a war with the county. The board called an emergency meeting. The same night, my camera caught Karen muttering at the end of my drive. I filed for a protective order. Judge granted it. Karen was barred from my property. Didn't stop her, never does with people like that. Then the real bombshell county forensics showed. Karen had tried to delete official property records. Now it was felony fraud, and the DA was involved. Neighbors started apologizing for believing her. Joe the doctor even brought me a six-pack. Looks like you're still standing. But the heat didn't stop. The night before the board voted to kick Karen out, she showed up at my gate again. Headlights off, eyes wild. You think you've won? This house is mine. It's always been mine. I called the sheriff, but she bolted before they showed. The footage was enough for another violation. Next day, the board voted Karen out. She lost it, through a chair cops called, and she was taken for a psych evaluation. Sheriff himself showed up at my door to say she'd be in a facility until she wasn't a danger to herself or others. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt wrung out like a towel twisted dry. Linda called with good news. County cleared my title, offered grounds to sue Karen for damages. But you know what? I didn't do it. She needed help, not another war. Linda said, you're a better man than most. Maybe I was just tired. I put the house up for sale. Sold quick for a good price. I moved even farther out this time, to the edge of a wildlife reserve. No HOA, no Karens, just trees and quiet. Before I left, I carved a sign for the gate. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is an idea nobody questions. As I drove away, I passed through Silver Bluffs one last time. Karen's house was quiet, SUV gone. Neighbors waved. I didn't wave back, not angry, just done. And you know what I realized somewhere between my old house and my new life? Sometimes the real battle isn't about land or laws. It's about standing up when somebody tries to rewrite your reality and refusing to let them. Doesn't matter if it's one person or a whole neighborhood pretending the truth's just another rule they can bend. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line? When is it right to fight? And when is it right to walk away? How do you know if justice means punishment or simply refusing to let the madness drag you down with it? I'd love to hear your take. Ever had to stand your ground against someone like Karen? Where do you think the line between justice and vengeance really is? Drop your story or opinion below, because sometimes the only thing that keeps reality from getting hijacked is a community that calls out the crazy when it sees it.